Professor Adikoya will do some presentation, and then Miracle will end it. So is Prof around?
Yes. Prof.
So over to you. He is the Dean of STEMS, Faculty of Computing, Engineering, and then Mathematical Sciences. He used to be the former Pro-VC of UNEL. So he has just joined us. So, Prof, over to you.
Thank you, Prof. Good morning, colleagues and everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Prof. Welcome.
Good morning, Prof.
Good morning.
Good morning, man of God.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
So this morning, I will be talking briefly on leveraging. I'll be talking briefly on leveraging electronic resources for academic research. As Prof has mentioned, he mentioned Turnitin plagiarism software. That is one of electronic resources that are available online. Some are free, some you have to pay, some your institution will have to pay. So the overview of my presentation includes introduction, showing you different types of electronic resources, the benefits that are derivable from using electronic resources, and then how to search effectively from online repositories, and then how do we access and use all these electronic resources. Then similarly to some of the things Prof mentioned, we must be concerned with copyright and licensing issues. And lastly, I will talk about some of the challenges and the solutions to them. In the time past, when you want to do research, you have to visit libraries to look for books, to look for journals, to look for magazines, and so on and so forth. If you're a student in a particular university, say Catholic University, and you cannot find a particular textbook or journal in that university, you have to travel to another university in another town or city. For example, going to Legon. We all know that if you have to do this, you get to Legon and the book is still not available, you go to Cape Coast. So you know this will be very Herculean task. So this is what some of us faced in time past, and therefore this resulted into limited access to finite collection of resources. However, with the advent of information and communication technologies, there is now no need to wait for hard copy of a book, a journal, or a magazine because the ICT resources have been able to provide this for us. So according to a researcher, Shetan, in 2016, he said that the resources that we need for research are now available at our fingertips, just with the clicks on the computing cloud infrastructure. Because of the availability of these various electronic resources, there is a kind of a revolution in the research landscape, therefore making an immense volume of information available and accessible from anywhere once you have an internet connection. This means that it is now easy for us to access different kinds of scholarly articles, books, data sets, and other materials with just a few clicks. Please, you underline data set. I'm going to talk about it later on. This has thus provided some kind of a free access to knowledge, allowing researchers from diverse backgrounds and locations to engage in cutting-edge research. So what we are just trying to say is that once you have you are able to access electronic resources, you can even access a resource somewhere in China, in Australia, in Canada, in Brazil, or in any part of the world once you have access. So what are these electronic resources? The electronic resources that we are talking about are often referred to as digital resources. They are in digital form. They are online materials that provide information, data, or content to users. So some of these electronic resources could be electronic books, electronic journals, databases, online services, such as information portals that we know as information gateway, digital library, institutional repository, e-reports. I will pick institutional repository. Prof mentioned that CEG is going to transform the preparation and submission of thesis into online. So this means that the end report of that is we are going to create an institutional repository. So the theses that are prepared and submitted to CEG will be in the repository for any researchers, be it graduate students or staff or anyone within an outside university, and they want to use such a thesis. There was someone who asked a question whether if a thesis was published or unpublished, should you cite an unpublished thesis? Prof answered yes, and I want to also say yes, because that is the effort of somebody's output. So it is important that we cite every item that we're able to use from any institutional repository. And of course, we also have e-report and so on and so forth. Let me also add one that is not there, is what we call data sets. You agree with me that one main challenge that we face here in this part of the world is having access to some secondary data sources, especially where it is not feasible for you to get primary data. Some organizations, I will mention them later, they have created some kind of a databases for storing data where you can access them. For example, if you are working on COVID-19, for example, there are a lot of sites where you can visit, you can source data set on COVID-19. I'm just using that one as an example. So these resources, you can access them via any electronic devices, such as your computer set, your tablets, and smartphone, and so on and so forth. I just want to say that the electronic resources are many. We cannot cover every known electronic resources, but just to underline that some are more useful when it comes to certain area of endeavor, like education, research, business, and entertainment. So when you are talking about electronic resources, you should be particular about the ones that are meant for research or the ones that are meant for education, depending on your need. I have mentioned databases as one of the types of electronic resources. The academic databases that are very available, like PubMed, in case you are working in the area of medicine, health, and so on and so forth. So if you go online, you type PubMed, that you just get access to some of their materials. The ones you cannot access, then you need to follow the procedure they will outline for you. There is JSTOR and there is IEEE Explorer. For you to access this, you need to sign in. IEEE Explorer, you need to register as a member before you can access some of their contents. And of course, we also have some other databases. Let me mention data sets. If you are working in any area you need data, you can go to Kaggle. If you just type Kaggle in your Google search engine, it will bring you the link to Kaggle. You can access any kind of data that you want. Then World Bank also have its own data set repository. Likewise, WHO also have its own data set. United Nations have its data set. So if you are working in any area, you can try to check if the kind of data you need are available in those repositories. Of course, we know that the web, www itself is a repository because it stores a lot of information. And Google has designed a search engine to search and retrieve some of this information on the web. I would like to use this opportunity to quickly clarify for some of us who may not know that there is a difference between the web and the internet. You can look at the internet as a form of hardware and the web as a form of information resources that reside on the internet. So there are ebooks and e-text. There is this popular ebooks resource. Most students are familiar with it. It is called PDF file. So there are a lot of free books there that you can access, and they also contain some journals and so on and so forth. The electronic journals, most publishing companies or organizations, they also have copies of their journals online and also in PDF form. So if you publish with Science Direct, for example, Springer, ACM, IEEE, SCV, many of us are aware of Wikipedia, and then also Britannica too. So these are also online, and I want to say that these are repository of information that are generally known. Like Prof mentioned that there are some common facts that we don't need to cite, and therefore there is a contention that is it possible to, is it acceptable to cite any information obtained from Wikipedia or not? So, like one of the contributors mentioned, since we are using the APA referencing style, there is some kind of instruction on how to cite such information from Wikipedia, but your work should not literally contain items from Wikipedia. Multimedia resources are also available online. YouTube, Netflix, Spotify. One of the things I normally point to students or to even workers nowadays is that you can learn freely online. Once you have access to the internet, you go on YouTube, you just type the subject you are interested in. For example, electronic resources, you see a lot of free webinars that have been uploaded on YouTube. And of course, there is these open access repositories. These are online platforms where research institutions and organizations make their research publications and data freely available to the public. One of such is SSRN, is very common. However, you must be careful. Some of the papers that appear in SSRN are yet to be reviewed and published. So if you are citing such a publication, you need to be well guided because some of the information have not been reviewed. And of course, every institution, just like we mentioned earlier on, and Catholic is going to also further the establishment of its own institutional repository. Government too also have their electronic resources published. For example, if you go to Ghana Statistical Service, they have some data that they make available to users, end users, even here in Ghana and outside Ghana. And of course, there are also digital libraries. These digital libraries, they are online collections of digital materials. They store different kinds of books, images, videos, and any other necessary resources. Of course, there are also online learning resources, such as educational like Coursera, EDX, and so on and so forth. There is another one when it comes to research. It's called Script. I will provide a reference to Script if you are interested. It provides some basic notes about research types, research design, philosophy of research, research methodology. It also gives you some statistical help and also plagiarism and so on and so forth. Of course, we all know that nowadays, if you want to do research, we need some tools, such as you need to master your word processing software. You need to master your statistical tools. You need to master your reference management software, such as Mendeley, EndNote. To learn Mendeley is available freely online too, but if you need to go through and get the certificate, Mendeley provides certificates for people at a cost of $40. Then you become one of their certified professionals. Then you can teach other people. So what are the benefits of electronic resources? Like I have mentioned earlier on, the volume of information available now is such that is huge. We can say that they form what we call big data. So they are you have limitless access to such a huge amount of information. And then this information are easily accessible from anywhere in the world. And at any time you need them. In terms of cost, the electronic resources cost far less than their print counterparts. For example, just assume that if you want to access a book that is in a library in Accra, for example, so you need to travel down to Accra. Look at the travel costs, not necessarily how much you are paying to VIP or STC or whatever. You spend like a day traveling down and then another day traveling here. So turn that number of hours you spend traveling into cash. Then you see that the opportunity cost of you sitting down here, accessing the book, even if they have a digital copy in their library in Accra, becomes much more preferable. And then the electronic resources are highly searchable. It is very easy to find specific information or content quickly as we use them. So very soon I will discuss some effective search strategies. In terms of their content, because they are updated regularly, so you get up-to-date content. So it is not, when you need a particular edition of a book, for example, you cannot rely on a book that was published some 10, 15 years ago. But online, you can easily access an edition of a book that was published maybe 20 years ago, but current edition of that book becomes easily available. Then it is convenient to access electronic resources, and you can also do your annotation on some of these platforms, like the PDF. You can annotate, even if you are using a web page, you can do annotation there too, so that it will be easier to study the document. In terms of global availability, we have said you can access them from anywhere in the world, and they provide them to the general global audience. So effective search strategies. There are 3 or more strategies I want to mention, but I will just look at one in details. Later on, maybe we can talk about the rest. The first thing is that if you want to search, you must use Boolean operators. What do you mean by Boolean operators? These are operators that combine two or more variables together. For those of us who have done logic, you understand that when you say AND, it means that when you combine two or more variables, you are saying that you want the result that means that all of them are present. So Boolean, if you use or, you are saying that you want results that if any of them is present. So it is not necessary when all of them are present, but if any one of them is present, then it brings you a result. And then not means that is, God created everything in a dual form. So if it is not male, definitely it will be female. If it is not day, definitely it will be dark. So you can always negate whatever thing that you want or you don't want so that you can get a better result. So Boolean operators are fundamental search tools that we use to refine search queries when we are searching for information in electronic resources, databases, and search engines. They allow researchers to combine and manipulate keywords and phrases to produce more precise or broad search results. Let's look at an example. Suppose you are researching the impact of social media on mental health among adolescents. You may use your Boolean operators to refine your search keys in this manner. You want to find research that discusses both social media and adolescents. Then you can use the AND operator, social media, and adolescents. So this one will retrieve documents that specifically address the intersection of these two topics. You all agree with me that if you go to Google search engine, you type social media, it will bring you millions of responses. But you want to ensure that you filter these responses to get precise results that you need, so that you don't need to flick through millions of or thousands of results before you pick the content that relates to your work. Then if you want to expand your search to include related items, then you can say that social media or social networking or online platforms and adolescents or teenagers or youth. If you look at this, you see that on one hand, social media, social networking, online platforms, they are on one hand, they are like what we call is it synonyms or antonyms? Then adolescent, teenagers or youth, they are also another land. In some publications, somebody might not have used social media. He will have used social networking. In another publication, another person will have used online platforms instead of using social media. Whereas your own work is on social media, online platform is still related to social media. Social network is related to social media. So you can use the operator or to include related terms to your own variable. And then if you want to exclude articles that focus on positive impact. For example, you are looking at the impact of social media. We all know that we can have positive and negative impact. So maybe you are not interested in the positive impact. You just want to identify the negative impact on social media. Then you can use the not to say that you don't want any positive impact. Then it will bring you the negative impact. Then there is this advanced search techniques, which also help you to refine and enhance the precision of your queries. This comes with the use of quotation marks. So if you type your keyword and put it in quotation mark, for example, machine learning, so then the search engine will bring exactly materials that are on machine learning. We also have truncation, which involves the use of asterisk. The thing is that if you, let's say you get a word objectives, for example, you are not too sure whether you are working with singular or plural. I'm just using this as a case study. There could be so many instances. Then you can type objective, or you can even type object and put asterisk after T. Then it's going to return any word that starts with object, okay, and which will necessarily include objectives. Then proximity session is also there. So that one allows you to specify how closely terms should appear on each to each other in the search results. I mentioned filters. So filters allows you to apply predefined criteria to your search result to exclude or include specific attributes. So this helps you to focus more on the relevant content. Filters are handy when you want to refine your result based on specific parameters, such as a time or frame of publication, time frame of publication, or the time of content you need. Facet are interactive features that display categories related to your search results. They are particularly useful when you are exploring a broad topic and need to narrow down your search iteratively. Accessing and using electronic resources. I'm going to mention two things here. The first one is university library subscriptions. How do you access electronic resources available through the university library subscriptions? All I will say is this, that you have to see the university librarian. They will provide you the guidance to access the databases, the journals, ebooks, and every resources they have on the university library electronic resources. So to access these resources, you definitely need to authenticate yourself, and that is one of the reasons why you have to see the university librarian. And of course, there is categorization of users. Are you a faculty member? Are you a staff, or are you a student? These are meant for accounting purposes, or let me say management purposes, and for also providing the needs of individuals. Then the other thing I want to mention is open access. I've mentioned earlier on that there are some journals that are run based on open access. Some data are also available based on open access. Some you have to pay. So open access resources are freely accessible to anyone without the need for subscriptions or payment. And they include wide range of scholarly content, such as research articles, journals, books, and educational materials. You will need to familiarize yourself with the concept of open access and its benefit. Understand that open access content is available to the public, monitoring, promoting knowledge sharing and dissemination. Utilize open access repository. Open access resources are often hosted in dedicated repositories on the website of institutions, universities, or organizations that support open access. We need to identify reputable open access repositories in your field. That is, if you are working in a Greek, for example, Agora is one of the top most open access repository for people working at Greek. If you are working in computer science, for example, DOAJ, that is Directory of Open Access Journal, is a very good open access repository. If you are working in medicine or any area that relates to medical science, PubMed is a repository that we can recommend. And then if you are in Africa, you are working in Africa, you are a teacher, you are a researcher, some institutions have come together to launch and promote what we term open educational resources. So if you go there, you see a lot of lecture notes and other materials that have been made available just like how MIT made their open courseware available for every interested user. Now, all these open access or even the subscribed materials that we have talked about comes with certain responsibility that are expected the end user to undertake or ensured. Some of these responsibilities include the fair usage in lines with the permission that is granted the holder. So it is important for us to understand that there is a principles of fair use, which may include purposes such as criticism, commentary, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. We cannot use the document we extract from any electronic resources without consideration of this fair use policy. Then there is also the issue of copyright compliance, okay, that we must always strive to comply with copyright laws when using digital content. I think Prof in his presentation stated this at the very beginning of his presentation, that we need to obtain appropriate permissions for copyrighted materials. We need to cite sources correctly, and we need to respect any license restrictions. Failure will impose some kind of a legal consequences on any defaulters or violators. Then some open access resources comes with what we call Creative Commons licenses. These Creative Commons licenses provide a flexible way for content creators to share their work while allowing others to use, modify, and distribute it under specific times. Let me explain this. Assuming that I have provided a draft policy on ethical usage of social media, for example, and I have put it under Creative Commons license. So that means that I have given access to other people to use it, and also access to modify what the draft and also distribute it. So most materials, either books or notes or software or art exhibition that are under this Creative Commons license, it might even be songs, it might be poems, any materials that are put there are there not just for you to use, but you to also update it or modify it and then share what you have done with it to other people. So it's a common knowledge sharing platform. Other things about copyright and licensing issue is what I mentioned earlier: responsible and ethical usage of electronic resources. We must give credit to the original creators and the sources when we are using their work. If you copy a diagram or a diagram from a material, you need to cite that material where you have copy the diagram from, or maybe you have also worked on the diagram, you have revised it, put your own there, so you can say that you have adapted from so. So it's no longer the form you copied it, but you have also modified it. So you adapted it from that place. And of course, there are some materials that you definitely have to seek for permission before you can use them. Prof has mentioned plagiarism. We have also talked about respecting license terms and then promoting open access. So before I leave this place, I want to talk about publishing your content, because I didn't cover it, but I think I should mention that most journals nowadays, they have a submission software or platform where you have to register before you can submit your draft article, and you need to also learn that one, because there are some tricks in using this submission platform too. Then what are some of the challenges in using electronic resources? Sorry, the resources is not coming. One of them is information overload. The amount of information available online can be overwhelming, making it challenging to find relevant and high quality sources. And that is what I was addressing when I mentioned effective search strategies. We talk about refining your search using techniques such like Boolean operators, truncation, quotation, filtering, facet, and so on and so forth. We also said that we should just turn our attention to citation indexes. You can go to Google Scholar, Scopus, Web of Science, ACM, PubMed, and so on and so forth. And you may consult librarians, because the librarians, they are experts in information retrieval, and also they possess great amount of knowledge about existing materials. So they can always assist us to search for information. Then, accessibility issues. It is not all electronic resources that are accessible to everyone. This creates barriers for researchers. For example, in terms of materials that you need to pay, then it becomes an issue if you don't have money to pay. So a way out here is that every institution been encouraged to subscribe to some major paid service platforms such as Scopus, Elsevier, ACM, and I know Catholic University is going there very soon. So you have to look for resources and platforms that provide accessibility features like screen readers. This is for those who are having some kind of disabilities. Okay, then prioritize open access resources, especially when you don't have the financial resources to go for paid service. Subscription cost, I've mentioned this one too, and I think that is clear that when you need to pay and you don't have money, it limits access for you to access the materials. So the important thing here is to say that in Ghana, for example, the libraries, they belong to an association called Kali. If you need any material from CEG library and you can't find it, just approach the university librarian. It will help you to search through the Kali system to find out whether such materials exist. And then negotiate licenses. Institutions can negotiate better subscription deals with publishers, so which reduces costs. Catholic University can access Elsevier once we have some kind of a partnership with them, ACM, IEEE, and so on and so forth. In conclusion, the advancement in technology is very rapid and is changing almost every second. So we cannot say that we are to rely on what we know yesterday or today when tomorrow. So every moment we keep on learning and relearning, learning and relearning, and we dedicate a lot of time to stay updated on new technologies and platforms. Like I mentioned, there are a lot of webinars around, some conferences. Some associations do provide webinars, workshops, and training sessions. And on YouTube, you can find a lot of materials that can really help you to master any subject. So I have provided an hyperlink to a video on electronic resources on YouTube. Then you can also join academic communities online where researchers share their experiences and insight about using electronic resources. One of such academic communities is ResearchGate. I don't know how many of us belongs to ResearchGate. If you join, it's free using your institutional email. It's free. Then you can join any group there. If you also join LinkedIn, you can join any community of your interests where you can always discuss subject of interest. And of course, the last one is leverage on library resources that are provided by the university library, such as tutorials and guides for using electronic resources effectively. I want to say thank you for listening, and I do hope that this short talk benefits you and suit your interest. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
too.
Prof.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Prof,
Prof.
thanks so much.
Please.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Prof.
So in case you have a
Thank you,
question
Prof.
or two or comments, you are free. My office is on the first floor, close to SEM Lab 3.
Hello, Prof.
Yes, please.
Prof, my problem is that I was having a network challenge, so I couldn't get everything clear. I came in late, so I was asking if I can get either audio or something like any soft copy that I can go through it.
Yes, this session is being recorded, and I believe the administrator will share with every registered participant. The presentation slide is also going to be shared with every registered participant.
Okay, Prof. Thank you.
Any more question or contribution?
Hello, Prof.
Hello, Prof. Please, can
Hello.
we get your, how
Hello.
do we reach you?
How to reach me?
Yes, your email.
Okay, so let me just type my email and phone number.
Bio. Yeah, where? Najua waurana. Ayang najua di kata ba? No. Which girl meet yourself?
I hope we are done, right?
I'm coming, I'm typing my contact. So I've sent my contact through the message, the chat platform, so everybody can access it there.
Yes, hello, Prof.
Yes, please.
Good morning once
Good
again.
morning.
Yes, but my concern is, as you said, technology evolves. And so I want to find out the issue of AI in relation to research work. What is your take on that?
Thank you. I think sometimes in June, I was privileged to present a paper on the same subject and on the same question. My take was that, like you are talking about ChatGPT, the generative AI, for example. Am I correct?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
Prof.
Okay. So the generative AI, they provide some kind of assistance to people to do their work. But the academic society community must come together to determine what should be the scope, what should be the boundary, the limitation of the usage of generative AI in research work, especially when it comes to research projects. So my take is that we all have what we call ethical considerations, just like Prof mentioned, that plagiarism is guiding us. And then the second thing is that the person himself, how satisfied are you with the output? For me, if I'm able to do something by my own or on my own, I have some kind of personal satisfaction. I believe the psychologists will be able to put it in better perspectives. So there are several debates ongoing about using ChatGPT or not, and some people have gone ahead to even develop software that can identify people who have even humanize the output from ChatGPT. You understand? They have even developed software that can detect that this one is actually generated by generative AI, even though the person has tried to humanize it. So for me, I would rather want to say that for research work, please don't use generative AI. I have done some tests. You can also do it. Ask him to give you citations. Most of the citations are usually wrong. There was a classical case of a lawyer in US who prepared his brief using generative AI, and it went to court with the brief with the citations, and lo and behold, they were wrong. This senior lawyer was very embarrassed before the court. So that is my take.
All right. Thank you so much.
Prof, I would like to add something to what you have said. I think what Prof has said is very true. I have also experimented it using AI sometimes to check some information. You would realize that with the references, when you copy the references and you put in Google Scholar or any other database, they tell you that the references don't exist. So some of them you get, by others you not get the references. So sometimes you wonder where the ChatGPT got those references for. So we have to be very careful with this ChatGPT thing. Thank you.
So once again, to give the next speaker opportunity to present his talk, I think I will have to take my leave. Thank you very much for your kind attention and participation.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, Prof.